Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Pizza Time, where we like to start with the crust, give you some of the juicy layers in the middle, and then top it off with some cheesy goodness. Welcome. Tonight, I'm joined by RusstyT. I just wanted to enunciate that for you because I can't say it, but I can sure feel it, and you guys are in for a tasty treat tonight. Speaking of which, here's my pizza. I made it myself. It's budget pizza. I'm joined tonight by RusstyT, otherwise known as Russ. Russ, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Mate, I'm sort of battling on. I've got a bout of coronavirus, but I'm absolutely enthralled to be with you and to share my story. And it's a real privilege, and really excited that to watch how you've embraced the game. And I think people are going to learn a lot about sticky tape and WD-40 and how to put a game together when you don't really know very much. So I'm enthralled to share that.
A MacGyver table. That's cool. Did you get some pizza tonight for yourself?
I have, mate, and I'd just like to show you my version. I'm probably not quite as elaborate as yours.
Yeah.
I've gone for the what is it? It's a meat lover's special here, mate. So yeah, cheers, and hopefully the layers are as good as this pizza and your pizza.
Cheers.
Cheers.
No. I wanted to see what Australian pizza looked like. You're an Aussie, right? You're in Australia currently. Is that about right?
Yeah. That's right.
I hear great things about them, but we'll find out some more. I want to know more about TimeLord, but first,
okay.
What about you? Can you tell us a little bit about your hobbies outside of pinball? What pets do you have? Are you married? What do you like to do for fun? Give me that personal fluff about you, please.
Well, primarily I'm a family man, and so always make sure, number one, family's okay. I'm a retired engineer. I retired 2015. I built my own house, which enabled me to retire at 55. So I spent the first years every time at surfing. I've surfed for 50 years, and recently lost my old dog about 3 years ago. Very good mate. And my son found an Australian Kelpie, which he thought would be really good for me. But if you don't know the Australian Kelpie breed, they're designed to move 30 sheep around a paddock and do the job of a few stockmen. Can move a 500 kilogram bull. They're incredibly headstrong, incredibly active, and he's been a large part of my life, probably for the last 2 years, about the same time that I started TimeLord.
That's awesome.
I just love him, and we spend a lot of time in the local creek, and we live very close to a village, which is unusual for where we live because it's quite metropolitan. And I live in a steel city town with an integrated steelworks.
Okay.
And it's where I used to work.
I live in a steel town. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's Cleveland. Is Cleveland?
Cleveland was a steel town. Yeah, big steel. Pittsburgh too, but
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Sorry, just making a note.
Yeah. So our stories would be similar, and similar for a lot of people in the town. I know the story. Like I watched the Industrial Revolution wind down. When I started work here in the steelworks in 1978, there was 24,000 people working there. It was huge. And when I left there, I think we were down to about 4,500 people running an integrated steel plant. A lot of outsourcing and all that hullabaloo. So I'd understand a lot of the pain of the people of Ohio and Cleveland, and it hits hard. I've had a lot of friends that have had to leave and set up lives elsewhere. So, yeah. So a lot of similarities, yeah.
Yeah, small world.
Yeah.
Let's make it smaller.
Absolutely, mate.
So, I mean, do you have any cool stories outside of your pinball journey that you might want to tell? Can you tell me a little about where your nickname comes from as well?
I think when I was at school, everyone used to call me Tolly.
Tolly.
Tolly, yeah.
I could see you as a Tolly.
Our last name is Tolhurst, so my older brother was Tolly. My middle brother was Tolly. My sister was Tolly. And my kids are now Tolly. But for me, people who really know me and have always called me Rusty, because my parents, for some reason, decided to call me Russell, which means the red-headed one, and Germany for you, mate. And so obviously they had a good sense of humour. But yeah, I like Rusty. And at work, when I was at work, the correspondence that was sent to me was always, Russ T, capital T. So Karen Farlow used to do that, the secretary, and I liked it. It was personal and it's inclusive, and yeah, it was nice.
That's cool.
My avatar is so much fun and enjoyment in my avatar when I was working, because you imagine working integrated steelworks, it's quite dangerous. People died there when I first started. I think it was six people in the first year I worked there.
Sure, that's a tough business.
It was terrible. Occupational health and safety was just appalling. But you also deal with some really hard people and unreasonable people, and we used to amuse ourselves by doing many things to, I guess, just to counteract that. And part of that was my little green man. He was a character that we formed within our group. We called him Bucephalus, after the Alexander the Great's black stallion.
Bucephalus.
Yeah, Bucephalus. It was from a game that the guys at work used to play at lunchtime, but pretty well if there are unexplained events where something go wrong, massive amounts of energy exploding, or and they call us in, you got to go and put this fire out, or you got to extinguish this gas leak or whatever, and you just got these draconic, horrible people just barking orders. And so just for relief, sheer relief for ourselves, we used to go back and it was me who used to do it. I just used to love drawing cartoons, just amusing ourselves at the ridiculous behaviour of these people, and we just had, it was comic relief. So I think there's a carryover there, Marty, into probably into TimeLord, where that sense of humour and things like that is a great way to carry you through life, and people who are blessed to have a sense of humour, then they really have a wonderful gift. And
laptop,
and I think
big stuff.
So that's pretty well the story of my working life. My actual life has been rather unextraordinary. Very happy. Met the love of my life 37 years ago in a super multicultural town, which I found really hard to fit in. Made friends. I lived in a hostel with 90 odd boys. We lived in this hostel, and so we came from this place, made friends, and within 4 years they'd all left. It was just too much for them to live here. But over time, meeting Sue and having a family and getting involved in local sport and things like that, I really managed to settle here, and got a really good family, and really grateful for that. So rather unextraordinary, apart from every spare minute I used to spend surfing.
Not at all.
Until pinball.
So short. That's a wonderfully full life and a nice little story. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, thanks for having the opportunity, Marty, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No, I like hearing about your family and your surfing, and
Yeah.
I myself surfed in California when I lived there for a long time. So,
Were you a longboarder or did you ride
yeah,
shortboards?
I rode a longboard, I rode a bodyboard, I did a lot of different things. California maxed out at, I don't know, 4 to 5 foot, at least where I
Right.
was in Huntington and Newport.
Yeah.
But it was an experience. It was fun. If I ever see a wave in Australia or Hawaii, I will probably be super intimidated, but I'll try it.
Oh, yeah. I think that's a beauty of surfing. It's not that you can go and surf the biggest wave. I know, like when we were in Waimea Bay, that we saw that at 30 foot maximum size you can paddle into.
Oof.
And we were up on the top there, and the boulders are rumbling around, and and the sea mist is there. You can literally feel the rumble of the ocean. And I was absolutely fascinated. Iwi birds are circling, and I was talking to a young fella there, and I just went, "Man, are you getting out there?" And he just said, "Nah, there's only a few elite people in Hawaii that actually will do that."
Yeah.
So you get this impression in your mind that Hawaiians, and I love the Hawaiian story and the spirit of the Hawaiian first owners of the land, I suppose you'd say, and that they just, but yet they have a reverence for these people with mana that actually have the courage to go and take it on. So, I have total respect for anybody that just wants to get out there. And if you're in the smallest thing, you still feel the joy of the ocean. And that is what it's all about, man.
And I mean, surfing's a lot like pinball in the community. The types of people that are in it. It's everybody helps each other. Good stuff.
Yeah. I think so too.
So, do you get to play pinball very often? I mean, real or virtual? I see TimeLord fired up behind you. What's your journey with pinball?
Got to get a bit of advertising in when I can, Marty.
I got you.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, this is bizarre. Like, I built this cabinet 3 years ago. I played very little pinball. I played one of the tables. I did the graphics while learning how to build a game. Was actually the gridiron table that Loser Man made, and I did a re-graphics redraw of that primarily to learn how to do graphics and how it all worked.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And as I did with Shovel Knight.
Another great work, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. It was sort of like an interesting project with Wiz. He just said, if you want to have a go at this, you can, He just put it out there. He built the game, did the best of his ability. And I was looking for a way to do the scoring. And I was thinking of doing it like a solid state because Ultra DMD just wasn't quite giving me what I wanted. And so I thought I went looking for something different. And so that's the reason how that came about. But meanwhile, I played very little real pinball.
Really?
It's bizarre, and where did my love of pinball come from? Like as a kid, probably not having the money to play them. But absolutely intrigued, and I'm absolutely intrigued by the mechanical and electronic wizardry. It doesn't matter if it's EM or it's solid state or DMD. They all have the same intrigue for me. And I think that it was probably about 5 years ago. My wife loves to travel and was travelling with her, and she just organised a day for us at the World Pinball Museum in Budapest.
Wow.
And we went there and had an opportunity to play these great machines, and she played Simpsons party all day, and I just didn't know which one to play first. So I played 5 minutes on this one, 5 minutes on that one, 5 minutes on the next one. And I just came away from that just incredibly, I just had so much fun. And so Susie, yeah, it was a blast, man. It was a blast. And Susie wanted to buy me a pinball machine for my 60th birthday. And when I was looking around, I went, you can make your own machine? No way. And I saw the Flintstones, and I went, you're kidding me. I can play these games on a cabinet that you can make. And I looked around, and there was people who sold packs and things like that, and I thought, no, I think I can do it. And so I built my cabinet, and I guess that was the start of the journey. And then when I was building my cabinet, so I became interested in, Scotty Wicks has put out his orbital pin framework, and then he's actually done tutorials that you can actually make your own game. God, you can build a cabinet, you can make your own game. Where does this hobby start and finish? And it
madness
right into
end.
Where does it end? It's got no end. And so I did I think within the first 6 months of building my cabinet, I built a first game rough game, just with a few little lanes and a few kickers using Scotty's pup packs and framework. And I built a little game about our dogs. So my son's dog and my dog, and it was called The Battle for the Bed. And and so the whole object of the game was the dog had to get, whether it was my son's dog or my dog, got to the bed first to get to the bed, and and then they get the cushion, and then they get to lie down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but even going back then, and I listened to it I pulled that game out the other day, and I realised that, my table building skills have grown a little. But when I look back at that game, one thing hasn't, and that was my love of sound effects. And you hit a target and there'd be cats meowing as the dog's chasing them, and turkeys gobbling as as the dog sort of hits a target, and then when you get an award, all of a sudden there's just like, there's the fox in the barn, there's chooks and cats and everything.
You gotta share that with me, darn it.
So there's all these intrigues about, pretty well about humour and having a sense of humour, and and I've always loved that. And I think that's what I sort of brought into TimeLord at the end. But so that's the story. I'm a virtual pinball man. I've learnt all my gaming and everything from virtual pinball. Been an absolutely amazing journey with Aussie Arcade. I've been on Aussie Arcade for probably 2.5 years now, and Aussie Arcade is just our platform that we run the gaming league, and the guys through there, it's very inclusive. We run it with any platform. You can play VR, you can play your desktop, you can play your cabinet. It doesn't matter. The idea is that we all play.
Hold on, you have a virtual pinball tournament?
It's all virtual. Yeah, we run a virtual pinball tournament, so it currently runs over 9 weeks. And you have 2 weeks on each game pretty well. And you just post your photo, and then you're talking to the Lord High Fooper of Aussie Arcade at the moment, being myself.
It's okay. It's all right.
Obviously, I'm quite passionate because we're looking for a few more members.
Okay.
We're a very small, eclectic group, but we're very welcoming. And if anybody would love to join us,
we'll share the link in chat for. Yeah, we'll share the link, and then below on YouTube, if you're watching, just click the link.
Come on in. We're very inclusive, and we've got some great players. Kane and Joey Soap plays on your platform.
Yep.
Comes and joins us.
Joe's with us frequently.
Yeah, we did have just another rat. Clint Starrett ran it before me.
Okay.
And he's done work with Scotty. Scotty knows him quite well. So it's a small world, and I think, it's been fun. And I think that journey in virtual pinball has taught me about games. You have to learn the game when you're involved in a gaming league.
Yeah.
And and I think that's the thing that I like about it. You don't have to be great, but if you get an opportunity to learn the rules and things like that, and
got to know how to score.
Fun banter with good people, you know, and it's just a joy. And really, the evolution of TimeLord has been through, as I've played these games. Oh, I like that aspect of that game. Oh, I like that aspect of that game. Oh, when I played Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I saw that rotating spinner, in the potion spinner that Scotty did, similar to CSI, I went, that's on my table, man. I don't know how to script it. I don't know how it works, but it's on my table.
Yeah.
And the same as the eyeball that tracks you around.
I love
there's
those.
2 dragon eyes that track you on TimeLord.
Yep.
And that is a combination of Scotty Wick's rotating eyeball when it hits the slings, but also a bit of JP Salas magic where as the ball comes down the table, the eyes track the ball roughly.
Yeah, a ballpark, but the illusion immerses you in that. I love the eye following feature. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. Yeah. So that's pretty well a story about me and my pinball experience. Very little, and I'm still probably quite green. So,
you've impressed me for sure. So, TimeLord, the meat of what we're here about. I was sincerely, thoroughly impressed. Long story short, somebody called my attention to it in our visual pinball chat Discord, and they said, has anybody seen this TimeLord? Is it a mod or an original creation? And that's when I went to VPU, and I'm like, what is this? This isn't your typical fare. Why is JP Salas's name on it? Who is RusstyT? I want to know more. And then I loaded it up, and I reached out to you after my first stream because I was like, all right, I got to know about this. So with all of my schoolboy joy that you gave me that day, please tell me, how did you create that thing? Not really the game elements and the modes and stuff, but what was your journey like? I know you started with Gridiron and you learned a little bit. You probably learned more skill with Shovel Knight, right? But
true.
Tell me what happened next, if you don't mind. I want to hear that story.
Do you mean like at the very start of the journey, how the game came about, or do you want to know about at the point after Shovel Knight, which was...
After Shovel Knight.
Okay, so pretty well, I've just got to go back to a point before Shovel Knight that led me there. Which sort of came after Gridiron, I think.
That's how you came up with the concept?
This is pretty well where I was forced into the concept.
Forced? All right, now I want to know.
Yeah.
Timelines be damned.
TimeLord came about from banter between me and my gym instructor. So my wife dragged me along to the gym. I disliked the gym immensely. And I was always looking for a distraction, and I knew that the gym instructor was into time and space. So I tapped into that, about who's your favourite, if you had a superpower, what would you be, and all that sort of thing. And he said, what's yours? I said, I'd be the TimeLord, I'd control time. And he said, I'd be Q-Man, I'd portal through space and mess you up. And so there was a lot of banter about that. And
here in the States, we call that trash talk.
It was trash talking, man. It was big time trash talking, and it was fun. and it was better than the gym. So,
That's great.
So, but then he knew I'd made this little pinball table. He says, "Hey man, you got to make a pinball table. I'm going to write a book, and my cousin's going to write the music, right? And it's going to be great." And we go, "All right, okay, all right, okay." So he wants me to build a game. So it was in the height of coronavirus. So I went, we all need a distraction, and we all need something to keep our mind focused on something. And this is a good distraction, because, we can do something positive and something to work towards. And so away I went. In 6 months, I beavered away, and I bought a lot of the graphics that are still on the table today, just looking for ideas and throwing time and space around and all that sort of thing. And I come up with a game which I thought was pretty good. It was reasonable. So I took to him, I said, "Hey man, I've made a game. How you going with your book?" And he just took one look at it and he just said, "That's terrible." I said, "What do you mean it's terrible? It's taken me 6 months." No, he said, "No, you can do better than that." And
motivational he is.
Walked away and I went, "Wow, I wasn't expecting that, So anyway, away I went with my tail between my legs, and I thought, I really don't know what I'm going to do to make it better, because I've used every ounce of energy within me just to learn how to script to do that. And so after I walked away from that, I went, I've got to do something about the scoring. The scoring was really the clinch pin. That I felt like if I could get the scoring okay and to work okay, then that'd be fine. So I reached out to the community. I said, "Has anyone done anything, around scripting of, back classes?" And Whizball wrote back. He said, "Yeah, I've done that in Shovel Knight." And I went, "Cool." So I pulled Shovel Knight apart, and of course it's open source. Anybody can do that you can modify that table if they want to. And I looked at it, and there's 13,000 lines of script with arrays that are, the size of a football field round. You've got changing lights, you've got changing colours,
Right.
you've got 30 songs that are changing every time you hit a bumper, and the game is a mammoth. You need a PhD to do it. This guy is an absolute genius. But he had a thing where he said, "My graphics are a bit weak. If anybody wants to have a go, have a go." And I thought, look, the guy reached out to me, and he offered me to use anything I wanted. So I redid his graphic scheme, and also an opportunity to learn the skills to develop for my game. So Shovel Knight was used as a stepping stone to me building my game, which was my ultimate goal, which I've been told was not adequate. And, man, I don't think Hayden, my gym instructor, knew how difficult the task was that he'd actually set. I knew very little about pinball. I knew virtually nothing about scripting apart from what I'd copy and pasted from Scotty. And he wanted me to build a great game. And so how do you go about that? Well, started dissecting tables and taking ideas and learning, and this is about 18 months in. And then I stumbled across JP Salis Series Sam 2 table. And so imagine the amount of learning I've done. This is an 18-month process and a lot of heartache, and you got to understand every spare minute of my time I was putting into this. This literally was my job, apart from my 2-year-old Kelpie. And cooking and cleaning and making sure the band's okay. That was my life. That was my life. That's how intense it was. So I stumbled across JP's Series Sam table, and I opened it up because I was curious about how he did his DMD flashes, because in this time, JP had transferred his DMDs that were on his playfield to the screen, onto a DMD screen and onto the, and this is a huge revolution, and the one that I was sort of looking for. There was a missing piece of the puzzle, and the light bulb come in, and when I opened up JP's script, it was like a tutorial. After everything I'd been through, and how to actually get the table to talk to the back glass. JP's just using core VBS functions straight out of the VPX. What's the name? Just straight out of the
software.
Yeah. And I just went. It was like a breath of fresh air. And I went. It was at that point I felt I could make a good table. And but having said that, it's still extremely complicated. So I took all parts of, because you go, table initiation, keystroke down, all those sort of things. And then way down, 2,000 lines of script later, it all feeds into your game initiation. And so all these things are feeding in, and I didn't understand how they work. So I grabbed all these bits and pieces and I moved them around so I felt they were in a logical order to me, and so that I could learn it. And it's a reason why I created so many problems for myself in the final release, because I duplicated script and I duplicated things here and there, and it was an absolute nightmare, but I didn't understand it, but I had to try and learn it. And so I went through that, and graphically I've always been, after doing Shovel Knight and after doing the Gridiron table, I was getting more confident with my graphics. And I felt like I was getting more confident with that I could actually make a table that flowed. I've always loved flow. Everything in life about me has always been about the flow. The surfing thing, the basketball thing, relationships, everything has to have a flow, and I really love the flow of life. And I think I've tried to carry that through in my design. I think that is, I'm going to take credit for that, because it's probably one thing that I do have. I've got flow.
No, you should.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been a joy to see yourself and Nailbuster actually dial into that. Because table's got to flow. I dialed into JP and pulled apart his DMDs. He uses every single letter has its own little image. Man, he's done the work for me.
Yeah.
He's done the whole thing. All you got to do is take that little image, put it in Photoshop, put your own, just type a character in, the letter A, whatever size, put a colour overlay over the top of it, hit the Alt click button, and then you've got whatever colour you want or overlay over the top of that. And you've got yourself your whole font. You've got your whole new, but JP has worked out the sizing that works. He's worked out the whole DMD structure. And it is just an absolute piece of art. And as you've seen from my attract mode that I learned from JP, you can do the headshots, and you don't do a full body person or anything like that in the DMD. And you see, like in Attack from Mars and that, how you just got the head that gets hit in the head by the ball, and you just love it. But if you had done the whole Martian, it just looks terrible.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's actually good advice, because here on Twitch for emojis, I tried to use the whole image, but now that you say that, I'm going to go back and try to just use the head. So thank you. I appreciate the hot tip.
Oh, that's absolute pleasure, mate. I learned that off JP, like most things. And I think this is a really great point to raise the brilliance of JP. That a revelation to me after 18 months hard work is the mark of a man that knows really what they're talking about is that they can say it in simple terms, which is probably why it's taken me so long to describe what I'm doing here, because I probably don't know what I'm doing. But with JP, he just makes things so simple. And if anybody is going down this rabbit hole of building an original game, look at the way he does his plastics. Look at the way he does his ramps. You don't need to learn Blender. trust me, I've spent 6 months learning Blender, and I haven't used one Blender object on there apart from the playfield mesh.
And JP's tables are loved by almost all, so you can't go wrong. I don't know if you saw channel called Game Time Television interviewed JP, and it was all in Spanish. I translated it into English and did the closed captioning for it, but that was what I noticed about him before I got to know him a little better.
Okay.
He's really good at explaining overly complicated things in a everyman's way.
Yeah, and you know, I've worked on complex design my entire life, and sometimes in a couple of my greatest projects that I ever worked on, I'm talking stuff, leading world stuff in water treatment and first system to design and a system that can tune a digital reheat steel furnace. I was part of a team that developed that.
Cool.
And ultimately, you come down these really complex, you cannot do them overnight. It takes a long time to do it.
Yeah.
But eventually when you get to the point where you know it and you can explain it in simple terms, then you go, yeah, now I know what's going on. And everybody just goes, they just take it, yeah, that makes sense,
Yeah.
And I think that is the mark of JP. I've never met him, but from our discussions, and from the way he lays things out, you can just tell,
He's a wonderful human being on top of it, so you can't go wrong.
He's a beautiful man.
Yeah.
He is a beautiful man.
What about the other people you work with? I mean, I've seen names on there like Crackers and Mozzie, but you mentioned the gym instructor and him writing a book and stuff. What about these other members of the team that you work with?
They're the engine room, man. They're the guys who know pinball. I don't. We're in a good place to tell that story because, 18 months in the story, found JP, put another 3 months into that, and the game is starting to take shape. So finally, but I'm not. I'm absolutely, I've been doing this journey alone for a long period of time, and the last interaction I had with Hayden was, it's not good enough.
And you're like 12 months in at this point.
Yeah, I was 6 months in when he told me that, so I'm another 12 months on. Yeah, spot on. And I'm tired. I'm mentally exhausted. Physically, this is a full-time job. So at this point, I just went, I need people to come on board, because I'm just to give me energy and to help me along. And I put it out to Aussie Arcade and Crackers and Mozzie. We've had a lot of banter in our VP League. A few other guys, Just a Rat, another rat, come back with some stuff, and Legging, another guy, come back. And they all had some things, but one thing about Mozzie and Crackers is they showed interest in the project. We had enough interest to captivate them, and a friendship that we'd built through the gaming league.
Sure.
That they come on. And these guys knew pinball. They played it since they was kids. Mozzie's played it since he was a kid growing up, and he's owned 14 odd machines himself, and absolute enthusiast now. Him and his wife plays, Mrs. Moz, Elise and Peter, their names are. And Crackers and I, something about us, we've always just got on right from the word go. We both have an absolute joy of EM machines, which a lot of people don't. Crackers and I froth them. So in the competition, we're probably two of the guys that run sort of head to head, normally do all right in the competitions. We'd roughly come in about 4th or 5th in the competition when we had really great players playing in the competition. And we just become good friends because we keep putting our scores up, and start off with pretty crap, but you put something up, and then you give something to work off, and the banter had come, and Crackers has got a bit of a self-depreciating humour that it always makes it amusing, and I've just got on with him. And, you know, Crackers has been there probably for the last 6 months pretty well flat out. Mozzie would have been as well, except his machine has gone down and broken on him. Poor fella. But they're the guys who made it real. Like, I'd do something and I'd say, this is what I'm up to, can you have a try? And imagine with a guy doing that for 6 months. Hey, I've got this idea. Hey, can you try this? And they don't know what they're doing. You know, it takes a very special human being to do that. And that's what these two guys are. And I know Mozzie would have been with me there right till the end, but Crackers has had to, you know, bear the burden of it right to then. He just goes, Russ, this isn't real. That isn't real. You know, this doesn't make sense. Hey, you realise you've got a problem here. And every single thing that he said has been absolutely spot on. And even when I've sent stuff to JP or to Gedden or, you know, Rajo Joey, I just go, Crackers told me to do that. So,
all right, now you've mentioned a bunch of other names. So tell me about your team. The team name is Avago.
Yeah.
Or Avago.
Yeah, you know my story. You know my story.
Tell me about the name and tell me who are members of your team, if you don't mind.
Hopefully you soon when you do the back blast.
Sure.
I'd really love that. I hope that TimeLord inspires creativity, and I'm putting it out there right now. If anybody wants the artwork and they want to have a go, PM me, and nothing would give me greater pleasure than seeing people follow a journey and have a bit of fun with it. But
you're quite a chap to work with. I haven't told this audience, but just so they know what you and I know.
Yeah.
I proposed to Russ that I wanted to make an alternate back glass, and he goes, heck yeah, do it, man. Here's some assets.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
You're wonderful.
100%. Yeah, I just love people exploring their boundaries and improving.
Yeah.
And I think that is the attitude behind Have a Go. Have a Go is Aussie slang.
For have a go. Got it.
Yeah, for have a go. It literally means have a go. And as a kid growing up, you know, you'd be at the footy and you'd be on the sideline barracking for the team, and you just go and there's some bloke that's just not putting in. And you just go, have a go, you mug, come on, get into it, you know. And it was half the fun of going to the footy, you know. Or you'd be in the bus and you'd be going by and there'd be some council worker leaning on the shovel, and, you know, every Aussie kid would feel their obligation and their civic duty to wind the window of the bus down or pull the big window across and just, you know, have a go, you mug. You know, it was just...
So who are all members of the team? Who do we got?
Yeah. Okay, so the Have a Go team, well, it started with Crackers and Mozzie coming on board, so they kept it real. We got the game to a point where it was in a state where it was a single-player game. This is when I went to JP and I said, JP, can you help me make this a multiplayer game? And JP came back with some scripting, and I threw a few other ideas with the eyeballs and a couple of ideas, and, you know, and his DMDs, he's actually done an update of his DMDs because there's a couple of little flaws in there as well. Okay. In the scripting that I'd used an earlier version, so he fixed all that up. And so JP gave us feedbacks. JP come on board, and he made it the multiplayer game, and he did it just so easily, seemed so easy, seamlessly. And I thought, and he came back and he said, this is actually a pretty good game. And I went, what? And he said,
JP said that.
I've got, JP said that, yeah. And I went, oh, this must be a good game. I knew that Mozzie and Crackers were starting to fall in love with it, and they were loving the call-outs and that sort of thing. And but JP came back and said that. He said, well, you know, I've got, you know, half a dozen of my own games in the cabinet that won't see the light of day, and it's very difficult to actually make a game up front and get it to actually work. So that was a big call, and gave me confidence. And then I went, at this stage, I was looking at, playfield meshes, and I reached out to Board, and I said, and he sent me some tutorials and things like that, and I went through that. But he also said, in one of his tutorials, I won't even play a game without, if the physics aren't right, or if this is not right. And all of a sudden, I've just got this mammoth task that is killing me, and all of a sudden, it's just got so much bigger. How the hell am I going to do this? So I went through his tutorials, and I tried my best to implement them, and I failed miserably. And it was then I realised there's this young guy. Well, I didn't know he was young at that stage, but Gavin Kekojoti, who was just pumping tables out.
Yep.
I was going, this guy's got energy. I can tap into that energy. I need this guy in my corner.
Guy.
This guy is just frothing this stuff. So I reached out to him. He was on holidays, and he'd come back and he saw something in my table, and he just went, yeah, let's come back and I'll smash this out of the park. So getting come on board again to fill a gap that I didn't have. And he said, look, Russ, I can redo the textures on the ramps. And I went, yeah, have a go at that. And he come back, and it just blew me out at what he could do just with a VPX ramp. No blender ramps, no nothing. He just come back and put some, and he had to twig all the things around and get it all to work. And I just come back, wow, this table's gone. And he come back with the LUTs, and then the dark image on the LUTs come back. And then I went, some of the lighting doesn't work. And I've still got a little bit to fix up on some of the lighting with the drag and targets and that to lighten them up. But he come back with that, and the table just blew me away. What he'd actually done with it, the sounds, the mechanical sounds, and just everything, the way it was working. The only thing I didn't like was the physics, and it was the physics that were on the table were more for like a diner type table. It was really quite slow. TimeLord's not that. TimeLord is a fast open table.
It's high speed. It's a flow table.
It's a flow table, yeah, and JP Gamatron, super fast, I just love that. I love that in the game, and I love that.
Yeah.
So I started mucking around with it, and I sort of roughly got it into a ballpark where it was playable, had all this, and then in the 1.03 version, super critical. I didn't realise this, how important the material selection is in an inlane guide to the flipper. But the actual, if you have, I thought, it's metal, it's a metal guide, it's got to be, zero friction, using my engineering brain. But it's actually the discrepancy in the materials between the inlaid guide. You're going from a virtually a non-elastic material to a super elastic material that visual pinball doesn't like.
Right.
You have to put elasticity into the inlaid guide. And I was trying all different shapes and, transitions to the flipper, and so that some were bouncing onto it. And eventually I think I moved the elasticity of the metal, which doesn't make sense to me, to about 0.3, I think it was, and the friction to about 0.2 or something like that. So it was, and then all of a sudden the transition, it stopped that sudden grab of the ball on the flipper, and then I added a little bit more elasticity in the flipper, so the ball, when it came down onto the flipper, that it bounced off. So in the version 3, I sort of got the physics in the ballpark, but they're not quite right. And if anybody's watching this and can help out with that, come and join us, man, and give people the joy of experience, what this table can be. So Gedden came on board, and then I found out that guy is actually trialling world first hydrogen trains in Germany. He's only a young guy, he's 24.
Yeah.
And he just got a passion for just doing what he does. He's extremely good at it. But I have to say, with the unusual way that I've scripted, where I destroy a lot of balls and create a lot of balls and things like that, tracking in with that theme, I've been able to pull through space and time and pop up anywhere and things like that. But he had to learn new skills to be able to apply the physics for that particular mode. It just wasn't a kicker where you goes in the kicker and you make a sound and you recreate that sound and you can put dynamics on that. No, he had to learn a whole new skill set. So now we've got Geddon and produced a table, and I'm back and forth to JP. Abigail team is growing, and then we've got a table that's ready for release, and I was really uncomfortable because you just don't know, how many bugs are there. But I just had to trust that JP said, "Don't worry about it. You're going to find bugs. There's nothing major there." And Crackers and Mozzie, well, particularly Crackers, was just testing the latest version of this table every other day. So, we've got somebody in there testing it. This doesn't work, that doesn't work, this doesn't work. He's trying it on a laptop, he's trying it on his cab. So, we had a table and we go, let's put this thing up and see how it goes. And so I think you were on the bandwagon pretty damn quick. It started to get a little bit of momentum, but virtually in day one, Out Here messaged me and said, "Hey man, I've done DOF." I went, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I've done DOF." And because, Mozzie and Crackers both have DOF, and they were just going, "When are you going to put DOF on?"
It needed DOF.
Yeah, they want to hear that rumble of the.
Well, you need it. The ramp sounds, the rolling ball.
I've got to talk to you about this, man, because I've got to put it on my cabinet. I don't have it. I don't even have a PC to build on. I build on my cab, on this baby, this puppy. That's what I built this game on. I didn't build this game on a PC. It was built on that cabinet. And and Crackers has got the DOF on that Out Here put on. So, hey, we've got a brand new member of the team. Out Here's on here. So as we get to a point where we don't know something, we've got a product that is good enough that people want to be involved with it. And that
add another layer.
And they put another layer of enjoyment onto it that I could never do. And I'm just going, wow, I never thought it'd come to this, but it has. But okay. So I went, right, who's got the energy to around virtual reality?
Ooh.
And I approached Raja Joey, Ralph, and I waited probably a week or so, and then he came back and he says, "Oh wow, man, I'm really honoured that you reached out to me to do this." And I went, "Oh wow, that's a great honour that somebody would say that." But he went away. He said, "Look, what do you want? What theme do you want?" And I went, "I'll send you the artwork." And so I sent him all the artwork, and he'd come back and he said, "I've got a few ideas about the sphere and all that sort of thing." And I said, "Look, man, really, you have complete creative autonomy to do this, because it has to be enjoyable. At the end of the day, he has to feel ownership that in a way that TimeLord is his creation. The VR room is not my creation. That is totally Raja Joey. And I cannot wait to release it in the next version. The next version will be a hybrid. He had enormous trouble doing it. The game kept crashing, and I don't know why. And he had to learn how to do Flex DMD to create the scoring. And it was all total, again, like getting, pushing him out of his comfort zone. And he just come back and he said, "Here it is." He said, "It's done." And I got that this morning. So to try out. And
I can't wait.
He said it was the most difficult thing that he's ever done.
Nice.
So TimeLord is, you deal with a quirky guy, like me, it presents its problems. But these guys have come on board, and I'm really grateful that they've followed the project through, and I consider them, I guess my friends now.
Sure.
Yeah. As I do yourself, Marty.
That's why we're talking, man. I'm making friends and networking and learning. Thank you for being a part of it. It's a good journey.
Glad to chat your ear off, mate.
Yeah. So, it sounded like it was pretty challenging for you to create a table area to even learn. So I'd like to hear what was the most challenging aspect of it. But the reason I want to hear it is there's a lot of people out there in the community that are creating their first table. Do you have any advice for them based on what you learned?
Oh man, I think the most daunting thing is scripting. Definitely scripting. I think a lot of people, if you got a little bit of creativity, I think you can build. But so my advice would be to JP's scripting and the way he approaches things simplifies things so much. It also creates, again, it's a very small size. To learn scripting, when you have the game framework to build on, so you appreciate after 18 months that I got what I'd done, thrown it out, and then put a whole new framework in, which then I proceeded to mess up.
Of course.
My advice would be, don't move JP's framework around. There's a couple of simple things that he does, in his reset for new player ball, and how he carries over his modes and all those sort of things. And at the end of a ball, that everything resets. It avoids a lot of carryover problems that can occur if you're halfway through a mode and you carry the half of a mode back over through the next part. That's why it becomes very complicated. Pretty well how I did the design and was that you follow the lights. That's how I script, was follow the lights. So that if you say, for instance, a light is lit, then it can enable something else to happen, or that sort of thing. And then pretty well that's how it works. So my advice would be, in terms of like DMDs, I know a lot of guys like puck packs. I don't have anything against that, but for me, the simplicity of JP's DMD flashes, including the colours and everything he uses, is spot on. And it takes up such very little space. It doesn't draw on a lot of, so people can play it on any platform, and with a.
Looks fantastic on my real DMD. I just have a 4:1 display, but it looks perfect. It looks great.
Yeah, it's so JP's done all the hard work. You just have to tap into it and learn it, and you can save yourself a lot of time by using his framework. You can use my framework. Anybody who wants to use my framework, they're welcome to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a pleasure, man. So I think the other thing is, one of the things I learned very early on in the piece, again from JP, is how he does his plastics. Pretty well the plastics are just a wall that is 1 point high or 0 points high, plastic with an image on top of it. And you don't have to have shadows and all this sort of things. But like Scotty says, once you've got all your playfield objects in place, then you do your plastics and you make your plastic overlays, and pretty well there's a function of VPX. You make a blueprint. Have you ever made a blueprint, Marty?
Yep, a few times.
Yeah. So you make your blueprint and then you build your plastics and that to suit it. Pretty well you just do one layout of all your plastic, including your plunger, your apron, all your plastics, and you just export it across. It's exactly the same size as your playfield, and you save it as a new item, and then effectively
Another layer.
Every plastic on there, you just apply that image to it, and it just picks up that part of the image for the, for the apron, for the, the sling covers, for
cool.
Whatever plastic you have, and it's such a simplicity. But I'm not talking about the great guys, the flappers and the these guys who do their amazing
It's different.
Their work is incredible. Their plastic work and their
you bet.
Their 3D stuff is phenomenal. I'm not talking about that.
They're spending hours in Blender too. You're not. You're getting to focus on the creation.
Yeah, you can get a great game, still get a great game, proof of that with TimeLord, and be able to do that just by using JP's method. And the other thing about that is, you got to have the bling, so, the toys and things like that, JP does those with ramps. So in a new game, now that I've got all these skills, I've just been tinkering around with a new game, and hope to share a bit of that later on. But so my advice would be that, if you make a game, and this is credit to Hayden really, that your game has to flow and you have to captivate people within the first 30 seconds, minute. If it doesn't, you've lost them. So
I'd say minute, but I agree with Hayden.
You say about a minute.
Yeah, but you found the keys to it. You engaged with sound, visuals, and flow. The three keys. You did a great job there.
All those elements.
Yeah.
It's got to have all those elements.
No, it was
and
phenomenal.
It's got to be captivating, and this hobby has gone to a whole new level. It's actually grown while I've been doing this project, and I've had to adapt to it. But so to actually come out with a game and be able to get some recognition with these games that are being produced, I mean, Scotticus has just done a whole realm of EM tables that Crackers and I are just frothing, and boards, kings and queens, and just absolute brilliant pieces of work. And you shouldn't feel that you have to compete against that, because you never will. Those guys are just so good. But I think if you do something unique and you're true to yourself, I think you can come out with a good product. Don't be afraid to try different things, I think. And I'd like to explain a little bit about my sound design and the simplicity of it later on. And I think it probably was the one thing that made it unusual and quirky and set it apart. But you definitely have to have the bling. So, people that are trying it, if you really want to try it, I suggest you unravel Serious Sam or, My Table, or, I use JP's Ghostbusters to work out how he does his things. And you'll get a framework that is, you don't have to worry about, how do you start a game, how do you end a game, how do you carry over from one ball to the next. He's built all that already for you.
Cool.
How do I get a DMD to score right, And hopefully by telling you those things, I've taken 18 months out of your project. So,
well, hopefully you've just created a couple of little tinkerers out there that will now go grab JP's framework and start playing around. I mean, that's how you got started.
100%.
Well,
Scotty, really with Scotty. Scotty's, but with JP coming through at the end, he makes everything so simple, and
Well, I've been teasing people all week about the story behind the table. You mentioned that Hayden was tasked with writing a book, but
yeah,
you know, so there's a story that goes along with the table. There's a flow and a sound design. You know, Nailbuster and I were playing it on his stream, and he mentioned how lovely the Christmas ornaments were. And I was wondering, you know, because I read the rules, but let's assume most people here haven't, because we're men. We don't read directions or maps.
No, it'd be not masculine to do so.
No. Anyways, I read them, and I was curious, will Q-Man eventually avenge his parents? Who's Q-Man? Wouldn't you like to know? You should have read the instructions, and if you didn't, shame on you. What's up with his parents? Russ, why are wormholes lacking fickle worms? Tell us about the story behind TimeLord, please, sir.
Well, I'll go to the Christmas ornaments. Yes, if you get to the story behind that for the viewers if they haven't seen it is that when Nailbuster was playing the table and he played and he's flicking away at it and he going through it and and finishes the game and goes, oh, that was all right. Oh, I wouldn't mind another game of that. And he played it again. And I thought, oh, this is all rather fascinating. He gets to the end and he looked there and of course when the game resets, up pops the 5 Christmas ornaments. And he looked at him and went, what are these Christmas ornaments on the table?
You had to die. That was funny.
Oh, no, I love it because...
No, I mean die laughing.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It was so funny. And what it actually is that as you complete one of the 5 tasks to get to the glory table where the fun of the game is, you get a whole new table that you collect a light, you collect a letter, but you also grab a Christmas ornament from the planet where he's been and he's actually conquered. So he's got to go to these 5 planets and complete these 5 tasks to be the Time Lord. This is totally my interpretation and part of my need to have bling. You know, a table has to have something interesting. It's got to, you know, the clock hands rotate round and
you need a mission.
The planets rotate. You know, and there's a hologram where, you know, if the Time Lord's in control, then the Q-Man is captive inside the hologram, and then, you know, when Q-Man is in control, the Time Lord's captive inside the hologram. So you've got these nice little things that happen. You've got changing graphics as they change. You've got to have bling. You know, people want to see that in a, I think in a, you know, a table that's going to captivate. Particularly a DMD table. Yeah, so the idea is that as you go and you reverse time and all that, and you're so busy playing a multi-ball you don't realise the 6 clocks on the table are all going backwards. But, you know, when you get to reverse time, you get the reverse time planet. When you go through the meteor shower and you go through the chaos, you get the planet Chaos, and when you go through the fickle wormhole, which is activated through the through the meteor shower multi-ball, you get 30 seconds there to get another ornament. So you collect these 5 ornaments, and
let's call them time crystals.
I like to think that the young Q-Man, who I picture around about 23 years old, takes these Christmas ornaments home one at a time, hangs them on the tree, and finally when he gets the 5th one, he actually becomes the Time Lord. But he's got to collect all 5 Christmas ornaments, and it's just a reminder to himself that goes home, he still controls time, but I just need to visit the spider planet. And once I visit the spider planet, then I've got that sucker.
One last achievement.
He got one last, and he goes, he's got 4 ornaments on the tree, and then he goes and then he just, you know, puts that final ornament on the tree, and bang, he's the Time Lord. I've got it. Right? It's happening. This is real. So, yeah, without the Christmas ornaments, there's no remembering of his task because he's 23-year-old and probably, I don't know, wants to party or something. I don't know.
He's chasing skirts. Yeah.
My dog's just going off here.
That's all right. No, it's nice background music.
Yeah.
This has been charming.
Yeah, so that's the story of that. And the fickle wormholes, no, it's not a compost heap. It's sort of like the whole idea of that is that idea came from Hayden's imagination that, you know, that to be able to portal through space, that you can just, you know, one day I'm here in Wollongong, Australia, I just go and open the door and bang, guess what, Marty? I'm sitting down beside you, you know. And that's what wormholes are. And Hayden was continually correcting me that I don't know anything about black holes. I don't understand how wormholes work and the like. But hey, mate, the banter was better than Jim, better than Pump and I, bro.
Well, we, you and Hayden's trash talk aside, you and I have created a wormhole and made time and space closer together. Not only time because we're 15 hours apart, but space because we're here together in this venue talking about pinball.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. And I'm going to get into it when we do so next Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, not this coming Tuesday. Actually, this coming Tuesday, I take it back. We're going to teach you how to play TimeLord too. So make sure you come by for that. We're going to do LL Cool Play and go through all the modes and rules on the table. I'm still exploring that myself. Russ may have given me some secrets. He may not have. I'm not going to tell you. But you should come and learn how to play the table. You should compete with us on the Thursday and learn more about the TimeLord. I promise, I personally guarantee you won't be disappointed and you will become the master of time.
That's right.
Yeah. Russ, as the TimeLord, because I'm still collecting my ornaments for my tree, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to leave the viewers with? Perhaps, you know, you can have a go at an inspirational story for us, perhaps, or I don't know, something to motivate the viewers to get up off their butts and do something creative.
Yeah, I think inspiration comes in many forms, but yeah, don't be afraid to go outside your comfort zone. Sometimes people need to give you a little push, which is what happened with me.
Like surfing?
To reduce the game. Totally out of my comfort zone, and even now probably still am. But yeah, probably two of the most inspirational people in my life are my wife is inspirational. She pushes her boundaries all the time. She's an educational leader. My daughter is inspirational. She's backpacked the world. Yeah, she currently lives in Vancouver. Met her partner in Seville in Spain, and she's been moved out of home when she was only quite young and 18, and you know, and now doing HR for a quite a large company, and you know, she's only 26, and you know, she's just so courageous. And then my son is inspirational as well. He's currently been touring all over the world with his mate who got his leg chomped out with a great white shark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they thought he'd never walk again. And he's never told his story, and they've been working on it for probably about 5 years, of how he had a goal to, because they took the muscle out of his back and put it in his legs so that he could walk, but he was left him with one muscle in his back. He had one lat muscle, and he had a goal to paddle from Molokai to Oahu in the Great Ocean Race in Hawaii, and to get back surfing, and he always wanted to be remembered not as a guy who got attacked by the shark, but as a guy, what he did after being attacked by a shark. So they have an amazing story that is coming out on HBO shortly.
Cool.
Truly inspirational, like a young man that never thought he'd walk again, surfing massive waves and just, and just cross the Molokai Channel in absolute courageous feat. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I just encourage people just be kind to each other and don't be afraid to explore your boundaries, and I hope you have a Time Lord in your basket.
Definitely.
And a Kelpie. And a Kelpie.
And a Kelpie who wants your pizza.
Who wants my pizza?
Yep, that plate is calling her name.
Yeah. I'd like to say thank you, Marty, for your interest. It's been an absolute joy to share my story because it is so quirky and so unusual. And thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, pleasure's all mine. You've been a joy to talk to.
Thank you.
I want to extend, I'm a little jealous. I'm jealous of Hayden. I'm jealous of Hayden's trash talk with you, so I want to start something with you. I don't know if you'll go with me here. Just wing it.
I'll try.
Look, Time Lord, I got your number. I challenge you. Let's end this interview right now, and let's go to our pin camps. You can turn around and go to yours. I'm gonna go over here to mine. Let's battle live for these people right now. Do you accept?
Sorry, I've already stopped time and I've already won the battle, and thank you very much for the competition.
I have a joke to tell you, but I traveled forward in time and you didn't get it. So meet me on the playfield, Time Lord. I want you to put your money where your mouth is. Let's do this.
It's on, dude.
Let's go. Everybody, we'll see you on the battle.